What if you wanted to play Old School RuneScape, but Guthic said, you have to play an underground locked free-to-play Ironman. Welcome to a journey where we do just that. On this account, I must follow 4 rules. 1. I cannot obtain items above ground. 2. I cannot gain XP above ground. 3. I cannot bank or deposit items above ground. 4. I must stay free to play. As long as I don't violate the 4 rules, I can also walk on the surface to get to the various underground locations, talk to NPCs above ground, lose items above ground such as eating food, dropping items, or paying GP to ride the ship to Karanja. Utilize all random events as long as I talk to the NPC underground so that any items or XP are still gained underground. And now, the dreaded topic, exceptions. I know, but we just have to allow 2 minor things. 1, I can gain the unavoidable XP above ground on Tutorial Island. And 2, I can pick up necessary quest items above ground if they're unavailable underground. This is for little things like a white apron or cadaver berries. I can only use them to complete the quest and nothing else. This exception has to be made to unlock a large amount of content, and I'll explain it in more detail in a little bit. Now, don't feel overwhelmed, but here are all the goals for this account. You don't have to memorize it, I'll talk about it more as the video goes on, and I'll recap the completed goals at the end of each act. But I know some people want to see the big picture up front, so here it is. I essentially want to complete all the hardest skilling challenges that I can for each skill, within reason. I also want to get all the combat tasks and collection log slots that I can, plus complete some miscellaneous goals, like get a beginner clue casket, access to 750 total level worlds, and enter any guilds that I can. So let's meet our protagonist White and Dirty.
I'm so pale.
And get this show on the road. For the first act of this journey, my primary goal was to unlock a bank, so I wouldn't have to carry everything around. The only underground bank and all free-to-play is in the Camdozel Ruins, but I'd need 16 quest points to unlock it first. It's actually possible to gain exactly that many quest points without gaining any XP above ground, but I would have to pick up some random items that can't be obtained underground. The real challenge is that I'd need 26 smithing to make my own iron chain body to complete Black Knight's fortress. The problem was, there are no furnaces underground in free-to-play except the one here on Tutorial Island, so I'd have to rely on the superheat spell and getting bars as drops from monsters. For now, I got as much smithing XP as the game allowed before leaving, which brought me to level 3. I obtained some starter weapons and possibly the only bow I'd have for the entire account. After leaving the island, I dropped everything that I didn't obtain underground. I also changed my attack settings because I was scared of accidentally attacking something above ground and ruining the account. I went to Lumbridge Cellar, got some boots, and made a note of this cabbage. Then I headed to Wizard's Tower basement. There's a chicken that spawns here for some reason, and they can't damage you at all, so I used them to train for a while. Oh, and I got some fashionable clothes. I'll talk about the useful random events, but I won't show each one after that. One of my side goals was to get all the random event items besides the stale baguette. Anyway, feathers were useless for me, but I brought the meat to the fire that's always lit in the Dwarven Mine to train cooking and get some starter food. In addition to the fire, the Dwarven Mine has anvils, the only underground general store I can access, and a pickaxe store, so it's a pretty useful place. Dwarves drop a bronze bar at a rate of 1 in 18, and that was my only smithing training method now. So the overall gameplay loop became increase combat skills, obtain better gear, kill dwarves, repeat until 26 smithing. Of course, it became a lot more complicated than that as time went on. I got a beginner clue, so now's a good time to explain clues. Long story short, out of 37 steps, there's only one I can do, which is to talk to Archmage Sedrador in Wizard's Tower basement. Getting a casket wasn't going to be feasible for a long time, so for now I wasn't even going to attempt it. I made Restoring Prayer unique for this account. There weren't any underground altars when I started playing, but there was a non-functional altar in the Wizard's Tower basement. I thought it would be ridiculous to purposely die to restore prayer, and it wasn't actually against my rules to restore it above ground, so I compromised by restoring prayer at the Lumbridge altar, but I had to visit this underground altar each time to make it feel fair. I did more training and got a few more upgrades like this bronze scimitar and bronze chain body. I felt strong enough to run through Drainer sewers to reach the fire at the center. This fire was much closer to the chicken spawn compared to the fire at the Dwarven Mine, so now if I burned food, I could quickly resupply and get a full inventory before taking on more enemies. This was a pivotal moment. I got a random event but needed to get underground first. I realized that when changing to an underground area, the NPCs will despawn, but there's a split second where you can talk to them. I had to be really on top of things next time. I made my way straight to the bottom bottom of the stronghold of security, choosing not to take money from the chest along the way in case I'd need to drop it before I got a bank. I decided to get the fighting boots. I know. The fancy boots are way better, but I never picked these boots before and I felt like they fit the underground style better. These were the best boots I could ever get stat-wise, so it was good to get them early on. I got a Bob the Cat random event and proved my earlier theory by talking to him right before he despawned, and this ended up netting me 7 fishing, which was exactly what I needed to start fishing in Camp Dozel once I unlocked it, so I decided not to do any more fishing random events after this. I moved on to killing Minotaurs since they drop iron arrows to train ranged with. They also drop Noted Essence, which I could use to train runecrafting, but not until I had a bank to unnote them. You can watch the stack grow larger to measure how much time passed. Minotaurs also drop right skull halves, which I could later use to make a staff that lets me teleport to the stronghold entrance, which would be very handy. I got the Captain Arnav event. This event was cool because it could give me a gold ring, which is the only ring I could get on this account. I could also get a gold necklace, which would look nice. And I got...
Will you marry me?
Yes.
Attention! Here you went to Jared.
You went to Jared.
After all this, I got my first bronze bar at 40 kills. It would take hundreds more to reach my goal though. At this point, I got my first genie random event. These would be super important for this account because first of all, they would help with runecrafting. For my account, I only considered the Mind Altar, Earth Altar, and Body Altar to be underground. In hindsight, the Body Altar probably shouldn't have counted, but too late. I could only use the Mind Altar at level 2 runecrafting, so I'd need to lamp to that first. But I couldn't lamp it until I completed the Rune Mysteries quest, so I did that now. It was one of those quests I needed to complete on my way to 16 quest points anyways, and I didn't gain any XP or items by completing it. Also, genie lamps would help with crafting. There's no way to train crafting underground in free-to-play besides cutting gems, so I need to lamp to 20 crafting to cut sapphires. That was probably never going to happen, and I wouldn't start lamping crafting until runecrafting was done first. The last thing about lamps, I'm going to show every genie lamp I got, both to prove that I didn't cheat and to show just how long it takes. After this video, you'll have a good idea how long it takes other creators to lamp to skills like 27 Hunter. I became strong enough to fight the giant rats in Edgeville Dungeon, which made things a lot easier since they were closer to the Dwarven Mine Fire. And I got camo pants from a random event. It would be a long time until I got actual leg armor, so this was an iconic look for a while. Just for fun, I decided to get a steel pickaxe and train mining a bit. My goal was to eventually get 70 mining to mine adamant, which is the highest rock I could access. I also wanted to get into the mining guild at level 60 for better access to rocks, and I could actually get a rune pickaxe from the shop down here and use it at 41 mining, so that would speed up mining a lot. I got the Gravedigger random event, and I knew I could deposit my items here and they'd be waiting for me in my bank eventually, but I felt like it would make things too easy, so I ignored it. I got a few more big levels, like 20 strength and 30 ranged. Now that I had a higher ranged level and plenty of iron arrows from Minotaurs, I went back to Drainer Sewers to kill zombies and skeletons. The safe spots were weird, but they worked. I got some good drops like 15 air runes to finally start training magic, an iron med helm, an iron sword, and water runes. I picked up a huge upgrade, the brass necklace. I tested it out against hill giants. I didn't think they'd be so easy to kill at my level, but it turned out they were. I got an iron full helm, nature runes, an iron kite shield, water runes, 20 prayer, and my new best weapon, a steel sword. And by the way, I decided to hang on to the wooden shield forever because there was no way to obtain another one within my rules. It's not just because I was sentimental though, it would actually come in handy later too. I got my first dunce random event, and the books of knowledge would go towards runecrafting and eventually crafting too, so I'll be showing each one of those as well. With my new gear, dwarves were becoming easier to kill, but I still had to heal often and needed more upgrades. I reached 200 dwarves killed and only 5 bronze bars dropped. This was going to take a while. Another Captain Arnav random event. Will I get the gold necklace this time? Finally, after 15 days of playing, I finally reached 4 smithing. It took 17 hours and 4 minutes, 22 levels to go. It was time to explore a new underground area, so I headed to the Varrock sewers. Notable features included giant rats, some trees which would be the only way I could train woodcutting, a 6 earth rune spawn, the entrance to Bryophyta's lair, an iron axe spawn, and moss giants, which were the real reason I was here. I could safe spot them here and get items like a black square shield, law runes for magic training, air runes, steel bars which I unfortunately couldn't use, a genie lamp, and a steel med helm. Unfortunately, it required a lot of arrows to kill moss giants, so I'd need to come back later. I decided to use the fact that they weren't aggroed anymore to start training woodcutting. I couldn't ever chop trees better than this within my rules, but I could eventually get a mithril axe if I smithed it myself at 51 smithing. Technically, I could smith my own adamant axe at 71 smithing, or even a rune axe at 86 smithing using a rune bar from Bryophyta, but
I don't really feel like it.
for now, I got the first level of many. I needed mind runes for magic training, and the most consistent source I found was to first wait 10 minutes for the zombies to lose aggression, then pick up the single mind rune spawn, hop worlds, and repeat. It was really tedious. Fire making was possible within my rules thanks to the Dwarven Mine general store selling tinder boxes. I would bring logs from the sewers to the giant rats in Edgeville dungeon so that I wouldn't need to walk to the mine fire each time. It would actually be possible to obtain noted oak logs from the Candozal vault, so my only real goal was to get 15 fire making to light those. Every other log type was unobtainable. I reached the first level 40 on the account, ranged. It was definitely my best combat skill since I could avoid getting hit, so I didn't need to gather food, which was very time consuming. I got the second Skull Scepter piece from cave crawlers after not too many kills. I finally decided to collect the GP from the stronghold chests because I did have a relevant goal. I needed 200,000 GP to buy the cosmetic gravestone upgrade from Death, since Death's domain is basically entered by heading underground. It's not that much money, but would take a while to earn on an account like this. Genie lamp. I went back to Moss Giants to get my missing upgrades, but only got one, the Mithril Sword. I got my first Drunken Dwarf random event, which was actually pretty useful because kebabs were one of the best foods I could obtain. It would soon be time to train magic, so I wanted to get the best gear possible so I could maximize my damage and thus my XP per rune, since runes were so hard to come by. I got a staff, which was the second best magic weapon I could get, and then I ran out of food after just 18 kills. I didn't want to wait for the remaining gear, so I finally started casting spells. This is where I realized the wooden shield was actually worth keeping because it's the only shield I could get which didn't decrease my magic attack. For my magic goals, I could have technically gone for 85 to unlock Teleblock, but that's not actually a spell I could cast since the only PvP zones in free-to-play are above ground. I settled on the 3 big milestones of level 50 for Snare to use against Obor, 55 for High Elk to make money, and 59 for Fire Blast, again to fight Obor with. Magic would be one of the hardest skills to train on this account though, because air runes and water runes were really hard to get since they only come from underground monster drops. Nature, Chaos, Law, and Death runes also only come from drops. Earth, Mind, and Fire runes have underground spawns at least. Anyways, I ended up reaching 5 magic with my first batch of runes. I went back to get mine runes again, and I loved seeing all the zombies lined up like this. They were so patient. Genie lamp. I got my first maze random and a bunch of air runes, which was super lucky. I used up some of those runes and got to 10 magic. I finally got that last upgrade from Moss Giants, a magic staff, the best magic weapon I could realistically get. Check this out.
Slide to the left. Slide to the right.
I tried getting the last Skull Scepter piece from Catablopons and ended up getting a chocolate bar from the Sandwich Lady random event. Free food was always good on this account. I also grabbed the final GP reward from these chests and got the last emote. I gathered over 1,000 arrows this time and was determined to get the last 2 Skull Scepter pieces. And of course I got the 3rd piece after using barely any arrows. Anku's dropped the last piece, so I found this safe spot, got 47 ranged, and then got the last piece right away. I combined all the pieces to get the Skull Scepter, and then got it imbued so it wouldn't break if I used all the charges. I could now charge it with bone fragments and use it to teleport right outside the stronghold. This would be a huge time saver going forward. In the beginning, I mentioned I'm allowed to pay the 30 GP to get to the Karamja volcano, so now was the time to finally do that. The 2 useful things here were the 5 fire rune spawns and the lesser demons, which had 2 big upgrades. The first was a rune med helm, my first piece of rune armor, which I didn't even have the defense level to wear. The second item was a mithril chain body, which would be my best chest armor for a long time. I got both in just 17 kills, even though they're both 1 in 128 drops. Then I used my new teleport to save at least 5 minutes of walking, which was awesome. I enabled loot beams, so now getting a bronze bar would feel even better. After many hours, I reached a new milestone, 5 smithing. In order to get the next upgrades, I needed to start the Corsair Curse quest, say that 5 times fast, so that I could travel to the Ogre's Caves. This place has some random item spawns like bread, rope, raw shrimps, and raw tuna, which was actually the best food I could reliably get since it heals 10 HP. The ogresses took like 3 minutes per kill at my current level, and I used up almost all my arrows, but I got a mithril kite shield to replace the black square shield. Little did I know this would be the best shield I'd ever get. Now the armor upgrades were helping a lot with killing dwarves. I also started casting Curse on them for some extra magic XP, which brought me to level 12. I got my first post-Pete random event, which gave me 3 unnoted rubies. This event would be useful once I had a bank to store the gems in, but for now I would sell them. I wasn't recording, but I finally got 40 defense and equipped my first rune armor, which looked and felt awesome. I headed to yet another new underground area, the Asgarnia Ice Dungeon. It's home to pirates, which have one interesting but not too useful drop, and ice giants, which drop one crucial upgrade I was after. I got into my safe spot and fired away, getting 50 ranged in the process. After 108 kills, I got the iron plate legs, my first piece of leg armor after more than 24 hours of playtime. I really only needed one final gear upgrade to help with the dwarf grind now. Moment of silence for the camo bottoms. I needed a lot of arrows, so I headed back to the Minotaurs. That's when it finally happened. I got the Segidor clue step. It was exactly my 39th clue, which was about on rate. Now I had to carry this around until I was ready to start juggling. While getting arrows, I reached 40 attack and could now use rune weapons once I had one. I collected all those arrows so I could try killing this one specific zombie on level 4 of the stronghold. It was an old random event NPC that got moved here permanently, and it has a 1 in 5 chance to drop 40 air runes, which would be huge for training magic. Problem was, it has 170 HP and really high defense, so to save you some time, I lost nearly 100 arrows per kill and never got any air rune drops, so I gave up after around 10 kills total. Genie lamp. I went back to the Ogresses and got the final upgrade I needed, the Rune Battle Axe. This was the best melee weapon I'd get for a very long time. And shout out to this guy I had a good conversation with, Harry Wee Wee. What? What's so funny about Harry Wee Wee? Anyway, with all my new gear, I was ripping through these dwarves with ease. I didn't even need to heal anymore. I reached 6 smithing after nearly 2 days of playtime and over 600 dwarves killed. I wanted to use up my runes, so I went back to the wizards to get the last magic gear upgrades. I got the blue wizard robe, but still needed one more thing. I got the frog random event, which gave me a collection log slot, but more importantly, dropping it taught me that frog tokens are actually huge and they kinda look like cookies. Somehow I forgot to get the reward from this chest until now, so here it is. I reached 30 cooking and unlocked the ability to cook tuna, which would be extremely important later on. Genie lamp. The 2023 birthday event was added to the game, which added the second basement to the Falador Museum. And yes, that is how old this footage is. This was an incredible update because it actually added a functional altar underground. No longer did I have to do my weird workaround for restoring prayer. It was like this update was made just for me. I was really happy with it. I reached 15 magic, which unlocked bones to bananas, and this was actually huge. I could now get a fairly reliable source of food while killing most enemies and training magic in the process. After 165 wizard kills, I finally got the 1 in 43 blue wizard hat. I now had the best magic gear I could possibly get ever. I resumed my job of killing many dwarves and reached 60 combat and 13 smithing. Then I realized that I needed to revise my plan. I didn't want to rely on dwarf drops all the way to 26 smithing. It would take way too long and I hated relying on RNG. My new plan was to get 43 magic for superheat and 15 smithing so I could just mine iron ore and smelt it into bars instantly. The best way to get runes to train magic was to kill ogresses, which was ideal because I could accomplish another goal I haven't talked about yet. I wanted to obtain a shaman mask from ogresses, which is a 1 in 1200 drop. So it was time to get even more arrows from minotaurs. I got the actual final upgrade from ogresses, the Rune Fullhelm. It's worse for ranged than the Rune Medhelm, but better for melee, so I decided to hang on to it. 18 magic. Now that I was 60 combat, these zombies didn't aggro me anymore. I could finally collect my runes in peace. I got 55 strength on a deadly red spider though because they still aggroed me while I picked up earth runes. With this rune essence, the stack reached 1000. This took a long time, but it would help a lot once I unlocked rune crafting. Speaking of which, I got the last genie lamp needed for 2 rune crafting and can now craft mind runes. To put things into perspective, it took between 2 to 3 days of playtime to lamp a single level. Now think about how long it would take to lamp to 20 crafting. I wasn't sure if I'd ever reach it, but after this point all lamps and books of knowledge would go towards that goal. 21 magic. I could now cast low-level alchemy and finally start using up fire runes to get some money from alching ogress drops. In fact, within 2 days of that I reached 216 GP and 27 magic. I decided to hold off on buying the upgraded gravestone right away just in case I needed the GP for anything else. I started collecting fire runes in the volcano for alching, and I realized that the lesser demons have a really low magic defense, so they were my best enemy for training magic on. Together, these helped me reach 33 magic, which unlocked telekinetic grab, meaning I could efficiently use up my law runes. This spell gives 43 XP per air rune, which was a great deal. I also casted my first teleportation spell at this time. As you can see, you get XP as soon as you cast it, so as long as I casted it underground, it wouldn't break my rules. I headed to Varrock West Bank basement to get my secret final gear upgrade for real this time, the gold necklace. It kinda looks bad with my current color palette, but whatever. Friendship with brass necklace ended. I trained some more down here until I got 35 magic and ran out of runes. I got my second maze random event and got water runes, fire runes, steel arrows, and feathers. The runes were nice, but it would be a while until I learned how to get even more from mazes. I got 60 ranged, the first level 60 on the account, all with a short bow. I also got 34 prayer and figured now is a good time to discuss the prayer goals. I wanted to get the 3 protection prayers at level 37, 40, and 43 to make bossing easier, plus 45 for Mystic Might, which is the highest free-to-play prayer available. Book of Knowledge, and the very first crafting XP on the account. Now I just had to get about 4.5 thousand more XP. It was a new day, so I logged in and... I can explain. I was AFKing ogresses on mobile and didn't realize that I was standing within melee distance of them, so yeah. I looked at my phone literally right as I died. Here's a screenshot I took. That was the first time I died on this account. Oh well, not a big deal. The grave had no fee to reclaim my stuff, so it's like nothing even happened. I did the math, and I now had enough runes to get superheat and 26 smithing, if I used up my nature runes along with my other runes. I just needed to pick up tons of earth and fire runes next. I realized I could stand safely over here and telegrab earth runes to train magic at the same time. And I could splash on these spiders across the water between world hopping and respawns. And here's 40 magic. I realized at this point that I had 152 cosmic runes, and needed to cast exactly 152 more low alchs to reach 43 magic. I did not plan that at all, so that was kind of amazing. After a long time of grinding, 3, 2, 1, 43 magic. I could now cast Superheat item. It requires 4 fire runes and 1 nature rune, so I still had to pick up a lot more fire runes after this. It took several hours for me to realize that I lost my fighter boots when I died, so I had to take the walk of shame to get them back. Here was the plan for the next 2 days. First, I bought the best pickaxe I could use. Next, I mined this tin and copper and eventually the iron ore. Then I'd cast Superheat on it, ideally as I walked to the anvils. Lastly, I'd smith the bar on the anvil and repeat until 26 smithing. Now let's finish this thing once and for all with a montage. I did it. The iron chain body had finally been obtained. I couldn't believe it was actually done. And now, White and Dirty looked exactly like a guard. It was finally time to complete some quests. But first, it took 4 days and 19 hours, or 115 hours of gameplay to get here. That's an average of 4.4 hours per smithing level. Now it was the final stretch of finishing quests to unlock the bank. First I started Ernest the Chicken. For this quest, I needed a spade, so I headed to the Ogre's Caves where one spawns. While I was here, I grabbed the raw tuna and shrimp and cooked them to check off those goals. This section is where my exceptions for picking up quest items came into play. I had to pick up items like the poison and the fish food. The oil can was actually in the basement at least. The key was another exception, as well as the pressure gauge and the rubber tube. But that was it. Quest complete. I got 300 GP, which I dropped later once I could separate my GP at the bank. Next, I started X marks the spot. I only needed a spade for this. I did obtain a clue above ground and needed to use that to find the next clues, as well as a strange device and a casket. Once I got them all, I turned everything in for 200 GP and a reward lamp. I dropped the lamp and would drop the coins later. After that was Romeo and Juliet. I had to obtain this letter above ground, the Kadava berries, and this potion, but that was it. I got no material rewards, just 5 quest points. Pirate's Treasure was next, but first I needed to get runes for bones to bananas. During this part, I realized that somehow my loot tracker showed I killed 2 cows, which I never did. It happened after Romeo and Juliet, so I wonder if that's some kind of rune-like glitch. I got the water runes from Catapult Pawns and got nature runes from dwarves. I needed space to carry bones, so I sold the bronze medhelm, pickaxe, and all my bronze arrows. I started the quest and then had to make an exception to get rum on Karamja. I put the rum in the crate, then went to the volcano to get bones and turn them into bananas. Once I filled the crate with 10 ethically sourced bananas, I got 30 coins from Luthis, which I'd have to drop later. Next, I had to take the white apron from above ground and then re-obtain the rum. I got a key above ground, which led to a pirate message, which led me to Falador. Now, I completely forgot that a gardener attacks you here, and if I didn't have auto retaliate turned off, I would have ruined the account. I was panicking and tried running away, and turns out he despawns if you do that. I went back, dug up the treasure, and promptly dropped it. Quest complete. Now we could start Black Knight's Fortress, which begins by getting a note above ground. I had to re-obtain the bronze medhelm that I sold. Remember in the very beginning when I mentioned this cabbage? It was a necessary item for this quest all along. With my disguise, I was let inside the fortress. I dropped the cabbage into the cauldron to ruin the potion and completed the quest, receiving 2.5 thousand coins that I needed to drop still. I said my goodbyes to the bronze medhelm and iron chain body, then went on to start the last quest. Below Ice Mountain required a few items which luckily were all obtainable underground. I first needed to get a beer, which I got from zombies. Next, I needed some bread and cooked meat, so I went to the Ogress Caves again to get that. I started the quest by talking to Willow and was asked to recruit 3 people to open the door to the ruins. Burnt Off was easy and required nothing special, same with Checkall. I did unlock the flex emote above ground, but unlocking emotes wasn't something I ever considered for the rules since it doesn't affect anything else. I grabbed the knife from Lumbridge Castle basement, then learned how to make steak sandwiches. I went into the Blue Moon Inn's basement and made it there so I wouldn't be obtaining a new item above ground. I then gave it to Marley and recruited him. We blew up the door, moved the rubble, deactivated the traps, and then I defeated the golem. Quest complete, and I got 2,000 more coins to drop. And with that, I finally gained access to the Camdolzal ruins. This place looks so awesome, I really wanted to explore everything, but I had to focus on my main goal. And there it was, the bank chest. I dropped all the coins I received from questing and deposited everything else. My bank was worth 843k, which was not too shabby. And that was the end of Act 1. For context, about 4 months of real-life time passed during this act, and 117 hours were spent in-game. Other than unlocking a bank, let's look at all the goals I completed so far. I smithed an iron chain body, burned a regular log, cooked chicken, meat, shrimp, and tuna, and that's it. It looks like not much happened, huh? Well, I laid the foundation for 3 more acts, so let's see how those played out. Unlike Act 1, there was no singular goal during Act 2. Instead, I wanted to take advantage of all the new skilling methods and gear I could now access thanks to the Camdolzal ruins and its bank. Fishing could now be trained at the little pond in the southwest corner of the ruins. Smithing could finally be trained consistently by mining baronite in the northwest corner and crushing the deposits at this anvil. I could use the shards to pay the entrance fee to the vault, where I could get lots of runes, energy potions, better armor, and oak logs. Now that I had a bank, all the noted essence I collected could finally be unnoted and used to train runecrafting. There were also golems I could kill for rune essence and gems. From all these activities, I could get the 3 pieces of the baronite mace, which would unlock my best melee weapon. Lastly, I wanted to use my baronite shards to get all the permanent buffs from the sacred forge, which would make the grinding easier. The first thing I did was grab this knife and this small fishing net, and got the first fishing XP on this account not from a random event. You can actually prepare the fish at this table to get some cooking XP, and use them on this altar to get some prayer XP, but it barely gives any. Later on, I realized I shouldn't have wasted any time on this. The time finally came to buy the upgraded gravestone from Death for 200k, so that was one goal knocked off the list already. I also used my money to buy each tier of pickaxe that I didn't have, since I'd be using them for the big baronite mining grind soon. And by soon, I mean now. I did get gems during this, which would be good if I ever unlocked crafting. I was getting around 5.5k mining XP per hour, which was pretty slow, but it didn't require much attention or clicking. Once I got a full inventory of deposits, I would crush them on this anvil to get smithing XP. I almost got a whole level from one inventory, and I even got the first collection log item. These items were totally useless except the baronite mace pieces though. I eventually got 30 mining, which unlocked coal, got 31 mining, which unlocked the adamant pickaxe, and unlocked the first Camdozal buff, which permanently boosts the chance of mining a deposit. In the span of a few seconds, I got another collection log item, the first smithing level from Baronite, and the Baronite head, so I only needed 2 more pieces for the mace. Many more smithing levels were achieved after this. I switched to fishing and got the Baronite handle before even reaching level 9. I didn't record it, but I got the mime pants and gloves from the mime random event. I reached 16 fishing, which wasn't important by itself, but it meant I reached 500 total level. I needed 508 to get into the 500 total level worlds since level 1 member skills didn't count, but it was still cool to see. I got the permanent fishing buff, which was good to get as early as possible, and I made it to 22 fishing and caught a cave fish, so got to check that goal off the list. Also, genie lamp. It was time to use up all the rune essence I collected, so I went to kill wizards until I got a mine talisman. This all happened before Desert Treasure 2 came out, so to train rune crafting, I had to exit the ruins, walk north and enter the wilderness, then head into the altar. I unlocked tons of wilderness music tracks and crafted my very first runes. Before no time, I already hit 10 rune crafting. I couldn't craft earth runes until I got an earth talisman though. I realized that the game puts 25 coins in your bank when you first start, and I technically didn't obtain those underground, so I dropped them. Runecrafting was so much fun that I went all the way to 20 and unlocked body runes. Now I just needed to get the body talisman. I felt bad about ending my friendship with Brass Necklace, so I got it back, along with the brass key. I then killed hill giants to get a body talisman, and in the process I unlocked my first protection prayer, Protect from Magic. I actually got my first giant key at this point too, but I'd be saving all keys until Act 3 since I wasn't strong enough to kill Obor yet. I wasn't having luck with getting the talisman, so I took a break. I filled a collection log slot, I unlocked the buff for preparing fish at the altar, and I even got 15 fire making, which meant I could now burn oak logs. I finally figured out how to use the replay buffer in OBS, and I got the 1 in 64 body talisman drop after 250 kills. I knew RNG could be cruel, but this was nothing compared to later grinds. So here's how I'd craft body runes. I'd use the Skull Scepter to teleport to the Stronghold of Security, then run to the altar and craft the runes. Then I'd have to run all the way back to the bank chest and repeat. I got 35 cooking, which was the final level I needed to complete my last goal, which I'd do later. Genie lamp. After that, I got 33 fishing, which was the last level I needed. I proceeded to catch a tetra and completed all my fishing goals. I also prepared one on the altar to complete that cooking goal as well. I went back to mining and got 41 mining, so I could now use a rune pickaxe for better XP per hour. I got a maze random again, and this time I was much wiser. I used the trick of opening the chest and not closing the dialogue to pause the timer and repeat to maximize rune rewards. It paid off because I got 90 water runes and 165 air runes, which for me was a ton. The strength pots would also help a bit with training. I unlocked the defense buff at the Sacred Forge and had just one more buff to go. I didn't record it, but I unlocked the Ancient Globe collection log slot, and then I finally got the luck buff from the Sacred Forge. I could now use the Baronite shards for a new purpose. For 750 shards, you can enter the vault, where you need to grab as many lockboxes as you can and escape with them within 1 minute. These lockboxes had many great potential rewards, including oak logs like I've mentioned, lots of water and fire runes, uncut gems, energy potions, steel arrows, if I ever got a better bow, earth talismans, and even adamant armor. If I was going to be training smithing anyway, I could use all my shards up on this and hope for the best. Genie lamp. I got the Ancient Treatise collection log slot, which was the last one I needed from shards. I actually got 3 gems in one inventory, which is really rare. In fact, it's so rare it happened again. I was doing so much smithing that I now reached level 40. It was way easier than it used to be. Another rare occurrence was getting the same 3 collection log items in one inventory of shards. The RNG was really weird around this time. Mining reached the big 5-0, and then the big
55.
I got 46 smithing, which meant I could make steel plate legs and plate skirts. I wasn't sure which to pick, but I decided on plate legs since they just make more sense. After all this time, I finally upgraded the iron plate legs. Using this new armor, I started killing golems to get the last Baronite mace piece. Since food was so hard to come by, when I got low on health, I just mined and smithed until my HP regenerated. I got 50 smithing during this time and was now 1 level away from my goal of making a mithril axe. The golems were draining my health a lot, so I also took this time to use the 58,000 shards I obtained to raid the vault. If I was lucky, I might obtain some better armor to make getting that last mace piece easier. I actually recorded every single lockbox opening thinking I'd make a montage out of it, but there were actually so many clips that it would take way too long. Instead, I'll just show the interesting ones. I got my first oak logs after just a few runs and lit them right away. Or almost right away, because I learned you can't light them near the bank chest. My strategy was to always go for at least one ornate lockbox, since those have the highest chance of containing armor. Then if I could grab a simple or elaborate lockbox on the way out, that'd be a nice bonus. After more mining while healing, I reached level 60 and could now enter the mining guild, so I headed there straight away. Unfortunately, there's not actually that much useful stuff down here besides these mithril and coal rocks which are close together. They would come in handy later. After 5 billion years, I finally got the Baronite guard from the golems. I took all the pieces to Ramarno and got the best melee weapon I could ever get. And with that, I now had every Camdozal collection log slot I could get as a free-to-play player. I got a lot of body cores and rune essence from the golems, so I used them to train runecrafting. I actually went from 20 runecrafting to 23 in a single inventory, which was pretty cool. Genie lamp. I could still use armor upgrades for future goals, so I kept looting the vault. After many runs, I finally got a great upgrade, a mithril plate skirt. So much for those steel plate legs. I also finally got an earth talisman and can now craft earth runes. I used up all my shards and here's what I got. A lot of water runes, earth talismans, energy pots, a lot of uncut gems, and the black plate body, which actually has better stab and slash defense than the myth chain body. I did also get a good amount of fire runes, nature runes, and law runes. The logs would help with getting easy total levels. Pretty much everything else was junk I couldn't use. Here was the loot tracker too for those curious. Now for a change of scenery, I headed to the Asgarnia Ice Dungeon to kill pirates for that one useful drop I alluded to in Act 1. And after just 6 kills I got it, the Chef's Hat. With this, I was able to enter the Cook's Guild. I couldn't actually do anything here without violating my rules, but I just thought it was cool that this place was accessible with my rule set. While I was at it, I entered another guild, so to speak, the upstairs of the monastery. Again, there was nothing I could do here, and I actually forgot to even put it on my goals graphic, but it was still fun. It was time to knock out yet another quick goal. I crafted my first earth runes. The altar is so far away from the bank, and I can pick up earth runes in the sewers, so it was really never worth it to craft more than these. This was the moment I realized I'm probably the only player to ever light fires here. I made it to 31 fire making before deciding to stop, just in case I needed the oak logs for something later. Now I was ready to make the highest level food I could within my rules. A jug of wine at 35 cooking. First I grabbed the jug in Lumbridge Castle cellar and filled it with water. I then killed goblins until I got the 1 in 128 grapes drop. This was the moment of truth. Would the wine ferment successfully, or would hundreds more goblins have to die? While I was here, I decided to get a pretty obscure item, the Socks of Ruin. You have to walk through these doors in a certain order and then open the chest at the end. On my first try, I messed it up, but on the second try I got it right and claimed my reward. The socks have no stats, but they would look good for my wizard outfit. I still needed 70 mining for adamant, so I found this one spot in the Dwarven mine which had 3 somewhat close iron rocks for fast XP. I did use this method to get a couple levels, but I'd ultimately go back to Baronite since it was much more AFK and also gave shards for vault runs. My woodcutting level was looking pitiful, and if I wanted to unlock 750 total level worlds, I would need to start training it more. Plus I needed 21 woodcutting for my future mithril axe. I would chop these 2 trees, hop worlds, repeat, and then when my inventory was full, I'd light fires from one tree to the other while my run energy restored slightly. It was really slow, but I got 21 woodcutting. And actually, I loved it so much that I got 30 woodcutting. Actually, 31, just in case I decided to get an adamant axe someday. To cap off Act 2, I superheated mithril ore to get 51 smithing, then smithed it into a mithril axe. This was a really satisfying moment, and spoiler alert, but this was the best axe I'd ever get. To celebrate and finish one more goal, I chopped a single log with it. That was it for Act 2. About 2.5 months passed in real life during this act, and 67 hours were spent in-game. It was much shorter than Act 1, but it was also much less structured, so I just needed to end it somewhere. I considered going for 70 mining for adamant and also unlocking 750 total worlds, but I figured I'd achieve those goals passively during the Act 3 grinds instead. Here was the bank at this time. The total value actually went down slightly since Act 1. Let's take a look at all the goals to see what was accomplished. Compared to Act 1, a lot more goals were knocked out. I mined with a rune pickaxe and entered the mining guild. I made my own mithril axe and caught all 3 types of fish. I chopped a tree with the mithril axe, and I burned an oak log. I accomplished all the remaining cooking goals. I unlocked Protect from Magic and crafted all 3 types of runes. I got all the Camdozal collection log slots and Sacred Forge upgrades. And lastly, I upgraded the gravestone. It was a lot of skilling, but I needed it to prep for the challenges of Act 3.
Good luck.
If you thought Act 2 was too short, Act 3 would take exactly as many hours as Act 1 and 2 combined. It was time to embark on some grinds that really put my patience to the test. I wanted to complete basically everything left, including getting the 1 in 1200 Shaman Mask drop from Ogresses, getting a beginner clue casket by juggling clues, completing all the boss combat tasks, and getting 758 total level. Knocking out skill goals like prayer and magic would come naturally as I completed the other goals. I would need a gargantuan amount of arrows for killing ogresses, so I started killing minotaurs. Minotaurs have a 1 in 60 chance of dropping a beginner clue, so they were one of my best ways of getting a beginner casket too. Book of Knowledge. 4,000 arrows later, I actually got my second Archmage Sedrador clue and decided to attempt a 2-step casket. It only had a 45% chance of success, but I was tired of waiting. And here's where I hatched my genius plan. I felt like if I juggled clues by dropping them above ground, it wouldn't be in the spirit of the account. So I first carried them to the Dwarven Mine from the Stronghold of Security. Keep in mind that clues only had a 3-minute despawn timer, so I had to be quick. I kept juggling until my run energy fully replenished, which took about 12 minutes. Then I brought the clues to the Camdozal Ruins so I could change my gear, since I was afraid I'd be too heavy and slow for the next part. After getting some energy pots and teleport runes, I juggled the clues back to the Dwarven Mine and then back to the Stronghold of Security. Then I juggled them to the Lumbridge Castle basement. After that, I juggled them to Draenor Sewers and used my home teleport to get back. The timing was a bit tight thanks to my low run energy, but I successfully juggled them to the Wizard's Tower basement. That whole process took me like 30 minutes, but it was kind of fun. Finally, the moment of truth. It wasn't a 1-stepper. Would it be a 2-stepper? All that time grinding for 2 clues and all that juggling was for nothing. I'm ashamed to admit I was so overwhelmed with frustration that I took it out on this chicken. I had killed 7,000 minotaurs and got 116 clues from them alone. I had to start over completely. But there is one detail I kinda left out. While juggling, I accidentally dropped a clue outside the stronghold entrance instead of underground. I was punished for my failure. So I started again, and I got 60 strength at this point. When I got tired of clicking minotaurs constantly, I'd switch back to mining and smithing since I still needed 70 mining. And when I got tired of clicking rocks, I started killing ogresses. Even though I primarily wanted the Shaman Mask, I still needed runes for magic training. Range level! After many bones buried, I got 40 prayer for Protect from Missiles. This would be a necessity for fighting Obor later. Book of Knowledge, and my first crafting level. I always picked the mystery box from the Quizmaster random event hoping to get the stale baguette, but unfortunately I never got it on this account, or even my main for that matter. I got 2 rubies back to back while mining Baronite. It's a 1 in 4,096 chance for each, so that was wild.
Stop! Thief! Thief! You won't get away with this!
I got the Beekeeper's legs, and I haven't shown every random event item I got so far, so here was the current progress. Jagex released the best update since the Falador Museum altar. Any random event that you already had all the rewards for now gave you an XP lamp instead. I used to think getting 20 crafting was just a dream, but now it was actually very possible. Since I still needed a high total level, I used the rune essence I got from Minotaurs to get a few more rune crafting levels. 42 prayer, you know what that means. You can now use the prayer metabolize. Wait, what? Yeah, this was a glitch that happened on September 8th, 2023, which was months after Jagex finished testing the ruinous powers, so that was weird. The real reason I was here was to stock up on giant keys to fight Obor. I would need a minimum of 5 if I was able to get all the combat achievements without failing any attempts. I decided to do some more vault runs with all the Baronite I had stockpiled, and managed to pull an awesome upgrade, an adamant plate body from an elaborate lockbox, which is a 1 in 2.6 thousand chance. It was way better than the mithril chain body in terms of melee defense, which meant I'd save a lot more of my precious food. I finally got 43 prayer for protect from melee. It wasn't too useful for me, but could help reduce how much food I use up while training. I killed 1,000 hill giants and only got 3 keys. There are 1 in 128 drops, so I was getting extremely unlucky. But complain and you shall receive, because I got another just 66 kills later. And another 8 kills after that. And another 5 kills after that. I had enough keys to fight Obor, but I needed one last thing. A black robe for my wizard outfit. Blue wizard robes were so Act 1. The vault had one more treasure in store for me. An adamant plate skirt to replace my mithril plate skirt, another great upgrade. For more total levels, I burned my logs, and... These lamps aren't always from genies anymore, but I'm still gonna say, genie lamp. I hit a new milestone of 1,000 ogresses killed. I then hit 65 hit points and 708 total level. Only 50 more levels to go. Book of Knowledge. I needed a higher magic level to fight Obor, and I had tons of body, water, and earth runes to use up, so I put on my worst magic gear so that I could splash curse on zombies in the Varrock sewer. It was a lot of clicking, but I at least realized a slightly easier way to do it after a while. I was actually getting 30,000 XP per hour. Genie lamp. And 3 crafting already. These runes got me to 49 magic, which was 1 level short of what I needed. I decided to use my nature and fire runes to cast superheat to reach the last level and train smithing and mining in the process. And there it was, 50 magic. I could now cast snare. Let me show you how I prepared for Obor. First I had to collect the raw tuna. Every time I did this, I had to wait 10 minutes to lose aggro. Then I would world hop until I had a full inventory, and then I'd cook them on this fire, and repeat until I got a full unburned inventory. Then I'd teleport out with my skull scepter to maximize inventory space and head back to the bank. So this was the gear and inventory I settled on. I had runes for casting snare to freeze Obor, and wind blast for dealing damage. I could have used water blast, but I wanted to save those water runes for snare. At first, I walked all the way through Edgewood Dungeon since I didn't want to waste an inventory space on the brass key, but this was definitely overkill. It was time for my first Obor kill. The strategy was to wait for him to walk away from the entrance, then I'd snare him in place and run to the opposite corner. I'd then cast about 3 wind blasts on him before the snare ran out, and then I'd repeat until he was dead. He has a max hit of 22 with melee and 28 with ranged, so I always pray to protect from ranged. While I fight him, I'll go over his 6 combat tasks. Kill Obor once, kill him while he's snared, kill him on a free-to-play world, kill him without being pushed back more than 1 tile by his knockback attack, kill him 5 times, and kill him without taking any damage off prayer. The first kill was definitely a bit scuffed, but I did kill him. I got a rune longsword, which wasn't actually an upgrade, and I got 4 out of the 6 combat tasks in a single kill. I even got a giant key for an extra kill if I needed it. I learned a lot and was ready to try another kill, but first, I didn't want to use up my food to heal since it was such a pain to get, so I waited it out while mining and smithing again. Oh, and don't forget, I had to walk all the way to the altar under the Faldor Museum to restore prayer after each kill. Now it was time for kill 2. I ditched the energy potion and took along a brass key and skull scepter this time. I forgot to resize my spell icons though, which made it harder. The only combat tasks left were to kill Obor 5 times and kill him without taking damage off prayer. That last one is the hardest. You have to make sure he doesn't get close and hit you with a melee attack. If I got hit even once, I couldn't complete the task. If I couldn't complete it with the 6 keys I had left, I'd have to grind out keys all over again, so I felt a lot of pressure. For this kill, I got 50 big bones, which is actually good for prayer training, but unfortunately I didn't complete the task. Time for the 3rd kill.
Chance time!
It did not go smoothly and I didn't get anything good. 4th kill. My main issue was that sometimes Snare would splash and then he'd walk up and smack me. My magic level and gear weren't that good, so it was really up to RNG. No good rewards this time either. 5th kill. Another issue was sometimes the game wouldn't let me snare Obor if it was too soon after he got unsnared. The timing really had to be perfect. I got the task for 5 kills, but still needed the last one. At least I got another giant key to try again. 6th kill. And this time I got it. That was all 6 combat tasks for Obor completed. It wasn't that bad once I got used to it. It was just a lot of time spent on prep. I did get extra keys, so I figured I'd use them up, just in case I got something good. Obor does have a chance to drop rune plate legs, a rune kite shield, and a rune chain body. I didn't exactly need them, so I didn't make it a goal, but it would be a nice bonus. 75 nature runes were a good drop for magic training. Now here's where I did something controversial. I thought that using the Clan Wars portal to restore my stats would be a good idea. I know. Technically it didn't violate any of my 4 rules, so I thought it was okay, but it went against my whole idea of using the Faldor Museum altar. I realized afterwards that I probably shouldn't have done it, so I never did it again. 8th and final kill, would I get anything good? Nope. Death runes were fine, but not special. Now that I was done with Obor, the next step was to take on Bryophyta. I skilled a bit while my health restored, then headed to the Moss Giants. I wanted to try using melee so I wouldn't have to gather a bunch of arrows or use my limited runes. I brought my axe and tinderbox to train woodcutting and fire making too when I ran out of food. Book of Knowledge. Shout out to all the NPCs I humanely slaughtered. Thanks to them, I got 45 prayer in the last free-to-play prayer, Mystic Might. That was the final prayer goal, but I kept burying bones after this since every prayer point helped with bossing. I got my first Mossy Key at 294 kills. There were 1 in 150 drop, so that wasn't too good. So then I got another one 2 kills later to balance it out. I was eager to try fighting Bryophyta right away instead of waiting for all the keys, so this was my gear setup. I think most players would use their best ranged gear to defend against her spells, but I had none. I'll go over the combat tasks now during this fight. The tasks are: kill Bryophyta once, kill her 5 times, kill her on a free-to-play world, kill her while Protect from Magic is active, kill her without suffering poison damage, and kill all 3 of her growthlings within 3 seconds of the first one dying. There's also a task for killing her with poison or venom, but that's not possible in free-to-play. I actually practiced my clicks ahead of time to get the growthling task on my first kill. I did notice that my prayer was running really low, so I tried flicking it and tanking hits when I could. I even took off my melee gear to see if her spells wouldn't land as often. If you're not familiar, you can't damage Bryophyta when the growthlings are alive, which could get really annoying. But after running out of prayer and using almost all my food, I did get my first kill and was rewarded with rune plate legs. I also completed 3 more tasks as well, so only had 2 more to go. Second Bryophyta kill. Watch how unfair this is. Literally as soon as I killed the last growthling, 3 more spawned. This fight could be very RNG dependent, and if I had to bail, it would be really demoralizing. Not only would I have to get a new key, but I'd need to recollect all the tuna and restore my prayer, which would easily take a half hour. At least this kill was successful. Book of Knowledge, and 4 crafting. You can tell just how bad obtaining tuna was when I resorted to using my random event food. One good thing about this grind was I could finally utilize the steel bars the Moss Giants dropped for a little bit of extra smithing XP. I got another key, so I sent another attempt. The reason I didn't stockpile keys was because I realized that I could save a lot of time if Bryophyta dropped a 1 in 16 Mossy Key. I was determined to complete the task where I have Protect from Magic activated when Bryophyta dies, but that meant I had to conserve my prayer till the end. I ended up eating almost all my food, but I managed to pull it off. And what do you know, I did get a Mossy Key after all. 4th attempt. It was extremely close, but I ended up getting really bad RNG with the growthling spawns and had to teleport out, so it was like that key she dropped never happened. I was kind of annoyed, so I went back to Minotaurs and ended up getting the Sedgeroar clue again. It took me 281 hours of playing just to get this step for the 3rd time. I passed a new milestone of 10,000 Minotaurs killed, and that didn't even include any I killed on mobile. I stopped once I collected 10,000 iron arrows. I was still going for the shaman mask and didn't want to get more arrows than I'd actually need. So I headed back to the Ogresses with 68 ranged, 12 days 2 hours played, and 1,136 Ogresses killed already. Genie Lamp. Another one. At long last, I was reunited with my camo pants. Now my ranged outfit was really complete. Book of Knowledge, and 5 crafting. I brought runes to cast Low Alch while I was here, which brought me to 51 magic. Genie Lamp. 71 ranged, my highest level to date. Genie Lamp, and 6 crafting. Here comes a big level. 69 HP for 758 total level. I can now access the 750 total worlds. I tried it out right away and nobody was using this spot. Training was about to become way easier. Despite completing that huge milestone, I was getting pretty annoyed. I had used up all my iron arrows and killed over 2,400 ogresses across RuneLite and mobile, and still didn't have a shaman mask. I was over double the drop rate, and when my only ranged gear was a short bow, that was really frustrating. On the bright side, I did get a lot of gems for the future crafting grind, and lots of salmon for healing. So, back to the Moss Giants I went, and another Mossy Key was acquired. I forgot to show just how long that Ogre's grind took, but I was now at 13 days, 19 hours played, so around 40 hours. Hopefully it wouldn't take much longer. I headed back to Minotaurs and took advantage of my new 750 total level worlds to avoid the competition. I only collected 1,000 arrows this time, hoping that I could get the shaman mask soon.
Miss. 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 Miss.
Oh my gosh! A floating
Short bow! I was completely AFK when I finally got it. An entire month passed since I started using those 10,000 iron arrows. I cried tears of joy and of sweet relief. I went well over double the drop rate, because of course I did. But man, it looked so awesome to see that collection log slot filled in. The stats weren't good for anything, but I just had to wear it with pride. I didn't even take it off on mining, and now I was only one level away from completing my mining goal as well. I switched to iron so that I could train mining, smithing, and magic at the same time, but I eventually ran out of fire runes and had to go back to Baronite. This is when Jagex made another helpful update. Count Check was a new random event that could give XP lamps, but I didn't have a Jagex account, so I didn't get one this time. I eventually learned my lesson and signed up for one. Mining was taking forever, so I took a break to fight Bryophyta again. I got 2 rune bars. Unfortunately, I would never get to 85 smithing, so these were just fancy paperweights. Genie lamp. And another one for 7 crafting. I got 64 strength and 80 combat. I never thought I would actually get that far. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for, 70 mining. I could now mine adamantite. I was almost to 60 smithing too, so I kept going a little longer. Genie lamp. Genie lamp. After an extremely long time, I made it to 60 smithing. I decided to permanently stop here. Each level was taking an absurd amount of time, and it would actually take years before I could smith something useful. 60 was a nice round number to leave it at. I did end up getting 40,000 more shards, plus all these collection log items. I don't know why I kept them all, but I guess it gives you an idea of how much time I spent here. And to actually cross the goal off my list, I mined my first and only adamantite ore. I officially killed 1,000 moss giants, on Runelight at least, but only got 4 keys. Not lucky. I was now low on food and arrows, so I started using up all my runes. I still needed a higher magic level anyway. I reached 55 magic while on mobile, and could now cast high alch. I actually had over 1 million GP thanks to all the alching I did. Now I was completely out of arrows, food, and runes. I had to resort to collecting rat meat again like a noob, but luckily I got the last key very shortly after. This was the last kill I needed for the 5 kills combat task. Could I do it? Yeah. Pretty easily actually. The strength potions weren't great, but would help with the next grind a little bit. I never had to come back here or kill moss giants ever again. And just to show it, here were all the Bryophyta tasks completed. So there was only one thing left to do. I still had to get a beginner clue casket, so the final grind of Act 3 began. For reference, I was at 12,000 minotaurs killed and 14 days, 19 hours played. How long do you think it would take?
Double kill. Triple kill. Overkill. Kill-tacular. Kill-trocity. Kilimanjaro.
Genie lamp. And 8 crafting. Genie lamp again. At this point, the clue juggling was getting to me. I killed 4,000 more minotaurs since starting a month prior. It was the 23rd of December now, and I told myself I would quit on the 1-year anniversary of the account, December 29th, if I couldn't get a casket by then. But 4 days later, it actually happened. I got a second Sedrador clue. I killed 5,000 minotaurs since restarting this grind. I kept going for a bit longer to see if I could get a third step, and I did. Literally 7 minutes after getting the second one. A casket was guaranteed. It was finally time to complete Act 3 once and for all. The next 20 minutes were spent juggling the clues to the wizard's tower again. I decided to juggle the clues above ground this time. I know. But I really didn't want to risk them despawning. And I already proved it was possible the underground way. This was the worst grind I ever did in RuneScape by far, and I wanted it to end. You don't realize how much clicking is involved and how much attention you have to pay to make sure you don't leave your clue on the ground for more than 3 minutes. It was agonizing. Even though my goal was just to get a casket, there were some things I actually hoped to get from clues. Each casket gives an average of 2 rewards, and each reward has a 1 in 24 chance of being a unique, but only 2 would be useful. The Amulet of Defense trimmed would be the only amulet I could ever obtain, and the Monk's Robe trimmed would be the only leg piece that could be useful for magic. Caskets also have a chance to give ranged gear like oak shortbows, oak longbows, and leather armor. It would be awesome if I got one of these to boost my ranged attack. Lastly, caskets have a chance of giving one of the 4 elemental staffs. A staff of air or water would have been huge since those runes are so hard to come by, but a staff of air would have been better. The moment finally arrived. Hundreds of hours of work led to this. Would it be a one-stepper? No, of course not. Would it be a two-stepper? No, of course not. That's why I got 3 clues this time. The casket was mine. I was so excited, I danced for good luck. What would it be? It was so bad, I couldn't believe it. I got 3 rolls that could have been anything good, but no. I didn't even know how to feel at first, but then I laughed, and I felt relieved to be done. It was fitting that it ended here in this basement where I got my first clue almost 1 year ago. So, that's the end. Let's review the goals I accomplished in Acts 3. I mined an adamant rock, I unlocked all the prayers and the snare and high elk spells, got all the combat tasks for Obor and Bryophyta, got the Shaman Mask, 750 total level, and a beginner casket. I never reached my stretch goal of 20 crafting to cut gems, and I never got to 59 magic for the best combat spell, but that's okay, I didn't end up needing it. I played 15 days and 8 hours, or 368 hours. Here were my skills. I made it to 785 total. Here was my bank, worth 4.27 mil. I never got to use up all my shards, or my thousands of mind, chaos, and death runes. Never got to use my 2.6 thousand steel arrows. Ah well, nevertheless. This account finished 1 day short of its 1 year anniversary, which is pretty cool. It was a lot of fun to make. Thanks everyone for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. But actually, I wasn't done. I originally intended to stop there. I almost did, and I should have, but I kept playing. It bothered me that I never got to cut all those gems in my bank, that I didn't get to use up all those runes, and that I didn't get any good clue scroll rewards after all that grinding. I really wanted a staff of air to use up all my runes and an oak bow to use up my steel arrows. I couldn't feel like I finished the account unless I took care of all that. But I knew it would be impossible to accomplish these goals with my current rule set unless I wanted to spend years of my life on these grinds, and I didn't want that. So I bent the rules a little bit. I know, but they were really minor changes and I already accomplished all the hard goals anyway. So here's what I changed. 1. I can do clue steps above ground as long as the original clue is obtained underground and I don't break any other rules in the process. This would allow me to complete a lot more clues while still keeping some restrictions intact. 2. I can accept random event rewards above ground. I'd be doing a lot of traveling on the surface while doing clues, so this would help with lamping to 20 crafting. See, it wasn't so bad. Now to formally outline my plan for Act 4. The goals sheet was now severely outdated, so I threw it out. Here was the new high-level plan. First, get all of the following items from clue scrolls. An air staff, and optionally a water staff, an oak shortbow and or longbow, full ranged armor, and a unique, ideally the Amulet of Defense trimmed. Get 59 magic for Fire Blast as originally planned, get 43 crafting to cut diamonds, get at least level 40 in all skills. This was just an excuse to play more, to create more opportunities to get XP lamps. Finally, use up all my arrows and runes getting boss keys and try to get some good drops. A rune chain body and kite shield would be nice since those were the last melee upgrades I could get. The 1 in 118 Hill Giant Club and Bryophyta's Essence would be best, but since they're so rare, I wouldn't try to go for them. Instead, I would stop once all my supplies were gone. After the Shaman Mask grind, I knew RNG could be painful, and I didn't want to drag out this account too much more either. I once again returned to the Minotaurs to get clues and arrows that would help me get boss keys. For the sake of time, I'm not going to show myself walking around completing all the clues, instead I'll just summarize the basics up front. I mentioned a long time ago that there are 37 possible beginner clues. There are 9 anagram clues which just involve talking to someone, and I could do all those. There are 5 map clues that require you to dig in a specific spot. Since I could get a spade that spawns in the Ogre's Caves, I could do all those. There are 6 emote clues that require you to perform an emote in a specific location, and sometimes you have to wear certain items while doing so. Luckily, I already had all these items. The chef's hat I got from a pirate, the leather boots I got from Lumbridge Castle Basement, the gold ring I got from Captain Arnov, the gold necklace I got from Varrock West Bank Basement, the red cape I got from a goblin, and the bronze axe I could smith myself. There are 6 cryptic clues that also just involve talking to people, and the first 4 of these I could easily do. The 5th cryptic clue is a Reldo clue. Normally, you'd get a strange device from Reldo above ground, which guides you to one of 5 spots to dig at, but I couldn't get that. I'd have to try all 5 spots and hope it wasn't the last spot I checked. If it was, it would take around 10 minutes of walking. The 6th cryptic clue is a Charlie the Tramp step. He can ask you for one of 8 possible items. The iron ore and iron dagger I could easily get from mining and smithing. The raw herring, raw trout, and pike were impossible for me to obtain. The cooked trout could actually be obtained as a 1 in 50 drop from Catablopons. Lastly, the leather body and leather chaps couldn't be obtained unless I got duplicates from other beginner clue rewards. So all in all, most steps were doable, but Reldo steps were really time consuming and Charlie steps were usually impossible. I tried to stack up at least 5 caskets before opening any, and here was the first opening. A unique on the 2nd ever casket. If I had gotten these demon feet first, maybe I would have quit while I was ahead. The fire staff was also good for saving runes, but the rest was junk. If you see any clips with these red lines, it's because I installed the shortest path plugin to save time since I had to walk around so much. Jagex released Desert Treasure 2 by this point, so this new ramp appeared next to the Camdozal Ruins entrance. This would make crafting mind runes a lot easier, which would help with reaching 40 rune crafting. Second batch opening, I got nothing good. Then I got the first cooked trout step from Charlie. I gave it a go and check out my arrow count. Starting from 1886, I got the trout at around 1300 arrows left. I think it took like 70 or more kills. I couldn't afford to spend so much time and arrows on one step, so I never did this step again. Third opening, spin for good luck, and I got an earth staff that ultimately wasn't very useful. On the last casket, I got leather chaps, my first ranged armor after all this time. It was a sight to behold. Fourth opening, cheer for good luck, and a hard leather body, and then leather vambraces right after. For the first time ever, I had a glove slot item with stat bonuses. But that wasn't all. The air staff. I was so happy I cried tears of joy. Things would be so much easier now. Fifth opening, I got a water staff. I was now the master of all 4 elements. Also, I got a black 2-handed sword, which was really rare at 1 in 805, but unfortunately it wasn't practical. The 6th opening, I got a leather cowl. All the leather armor was now mine. I just needed an oak bow still. 7th opening was junk. It was always super disappointing when that happened. I actually got a beginner clue nest from one of the trees down here. I don't think birds live in the sewer, so maybe it was a rat nest or something. After many clicks, I reached 40 woodcutting. I just had rune crafting and crafting to go until base 40s. 8th casket opening, more junk. I'm gonna stop showing the junk openings to save time. Genie lamp. And 9 crafting. What are the odds this random guy and I were going to the same clue spot on the same world at the same time? That's like a miracle. On my 43rd casket, I got it. The oak shortbow. I finally had everything I wanted from clues. The regular shortbow and longbow gave +8 range attack, and the oak shortbow gave +14. Not to mention it could fire steel arrows. It took almost 20,000 minotaurs to get here, and that's not even counting mobile kills. +31 ranged attack bonus was literally the best I could ever get, and steel arrows gave +16 ranged strength bonus. This would help so much with the upcoming key grind, and so I got to work right away. It felt great to hit consistently for once. Genie lamp. And again for 10 crafting. Halfway there, kinda. Book of Knowledge. After getting 4 mossy keys, I stopped to take on Bryophyta once again. Nothing new on the 6th kill. The next fight was rough. When I talk about unfair RNG, look at these growthling spawns. They literally couldn't have spawned a tick sooner. And on the same kill, it happened again. I actually almost died right here. I had no prayer and not enough food to last much longer, but I managed to beat the boss. And I was rewarded with... Bryophyta's essence, oh my god! That's a 1 in 118 drop, and I got it on my 7th kill. There was a 5.6% chance of that happening. I literally could not believe it. I had to get up and walk around afterwards to let out all the adrenaline. Now I had no reason to ever come back to Moss Giants because I could get the rune armor from Obor. Now here's the extremely amazing thing about this drop. My account was inspired by Caveman Only, and in episode 19 of his series, he got the essence at 7 kill count as well. What are the odds that 2 underground locked accounts got the drop at the same kill count? Maybe the RNG is determined by above ground activities. Anyway, I couldn't actually do anything with this drop, since converting it to a staff happens above ground, but it was still a nice trophy. Genie Lamp. I just had to use up my last 2 Mossy keys and then I could move on to Hill Giants. On my last 2 Bryophyta kills, I just got Chaos Runes and coins. I guess I shouldn't complain. Even though I got all the ranged and mage gear, I still wanted to do clues. In this opening, I got a Guthix ornament kit and a Jester cape, which was pretty neat. I was still holding out hope for an Amulet of Defense trimmed or Monk Rope bottoms to help with fighting Obor. Now I started the grind to get Hill Giant keys. I was happy to put my new air staff to use. Shortly after, I reached 50 prayer, and this was when I made a big decision. 50 prayer was enough to fight Obor, plus I had to restore prayer after each fight anyway, and burying bones was such a pain, so I decided to stop training prayer altogether. Ultimately, it was a good decision that saved a lot of time. Genie Lamp. I took a break from getting giant keys to get my final rune crafting level, level 40. Crafting was the only skill left for base 40s, but I needed to speed things up. So I hatched my most degenerate plan yet. I work from home in real life, so I put myself in this basement that nobody ever goes to and just sat there all day while I worked, waiting for genie lamps. The way random events work is they can only spawn at 5-minute intervals starting from when you log in. Once you get a random event, another one can't spawn until a minimum of 1 hour passes, so I could log out during that time. Afterwards, I'd log in and start idling until at most the 2-hour mark when one was guaranteed to spawn. The time that they spawn is actually predetermined, and if you're logged out when that time arrives, the game postpones the spawn by 10 to 70 minutes. So it was crucial that I didn't accidentally AFK too long and get logged out. I was playing on mobile, which requires an input every few minutes, so it was definitely tedious and distracting. I was lucky to get 1 or 2 lamps per day, and getting a useless random event was so demoralizing. But after around 3 weeks of doing this, I managed to get enough lamps to finally achieve my goal of 20 crafting. I really pity anyone who lamped skills even higher than that before the random event rework made things easier. I never would have had the patience for that. But in order to tell that little story, I skipped some things. I was waiting in that basement during the day, but I did other content at night, so let's go back. I had a lot of law runes, so I trained magic by casting Telekinetic Grab and made it to 59 magic. Fire Blast was now unlocked, and the last magic goal was completed. It was time to test it out against Obor, and it definitely made a difference. While collecting tuna, I killed some ogresses with my new ranged gear. It felt good to get revenge. The Obor drops weren't giving me anything good, until my 10th or so kill gave me a rune chain body. Compared to the adamant plate body, it was better against everything but stab. My new setup was looking awesome. I just needed a better shield and an amulet of defense. I finally ran out of chaos runes and tried switching to the mind runes I crafted, but it made things take way too long because airstrike could only deal 1 to 2 damage per hit. Okay, now we're caught back up to when I got 20 crafting. This was such an awesome moment. I had so many uncut gems banked from the past 15 months of playing. I had to unmute the audio just to hear that sweet sound. I got 21 crafting right away and was about to get so many more levels. Within like 15 minutes, I made it to 40 crafting. But I needed 43 to cut diamonds and I had no more gems to cut. That's when I learned mind golems actually drop uncut gems fairly regularly, so I spent several hours killing these over the next couple of months. Even though I didn't need genie lamps anymore and didn't record all my future ones, they'd still be helpful in getting those last few levels. I won't show every Obor kill at this point, but know that I just kept getting keys, killing Obor, doing clues, and fighting golems. I remembered that I had a lot of Baronite shards still, and the lockboxes have a chance to give uncut gems, so I used all of them up. When I failed and got kicked out, I killed golems while my run energy regenerated, and I got 70 strength. After a while, I focused on getting elaborate lockboxes in hopes of getting more runes and arrows too. In the end, I only got a few gems, but I did get a lot of runes and arrows. After more than 70 casket openings, I finally got a new unique, a shoulder parrot, aka my best in slot ranged cape. 42 crafting, only 1 more level to go. new clue opening, and a new unique, Saradomin Ornament Kit. Too bad I would never get a Rune Scimitar to use it. Oh no, my clue's going to despawn! No! This was all a trick. I deceived you. Jagex made a great update, which was that clue scrolls last 1 hour before despawning when dropped. I so wish they implemented this back when I was getting my first casket, but oh well. Getting clues was about to get a whole lot more convenient. I was still hoping for a Rune Kite Shield, but I still didn't have one at 24 KC, and I killed 3,000 Hill Giants by this point. This was a big moment though. 100 beginner caskets opened, and still no Amulet of Defense. I only had a 42% chance to have one by this point, but still. With how long getting clues took, I was getting tired. For example, you can see by the clues on the ground that I had to drop at least 3 in the past hour. On the bright side, I got 78 ranged. By itself, it's not special, but little did I know, it would be the last ranged level I'd ever get. I was getting real tired of playing now, and picking up arrows was so tedious, so I decided to stop picking them up. First I ran out of irons, then steel, then bronze. They go by pretty quick when you just let them despawn. For my 30th Obor kill, I got nothing new. For my 31st kill, I tried to cast a snare, but I must have had auto retaliate on. I got backed against a wall and...
What? I died!
Second death on the account. At least we finally got to see the upgraded gravestone, right? 74 HP, the last HP level I'd ever get. Even though I used golems for getting gems, they were decent for clues too. Now the time finally arrived. I had enough gems for 43 crafting. It really felt awesome to get this. In fact, I was killing golems on mobile during work, and I was so excited that I took a break just to hop on RuneLite and get this final level and cut all these diamonds. I even made it to 44 crafting, although there was nothing else I could unlock. The crafting grind was finally over after 491 hours in-game and 16 months in real life. I was actually content to stop there. By cutting diamonds, I finally accomplished everything from my original goals list. The Amulet of Defense and the Rune Kite Shield were just bonuses, and frankly, I was sick of the disappointing clue caskets and Obor drops. They took so much time, and I felt like I was just gambling, hoping for my big break. It wasn't fun anymore. So I finished out the clues I was juggling from the golem grind, and ended up on 126 caskets opened. I only got 5 uniques, and at a 1 in 24 chance per roll, and an average of 2 rolls per casket, that meant I had a 2.8% chance of going as dry as I did. You'd probably want to quit too if you were that unlucky. So I recorded my bank, stats, and time played as a final goodbye. But there was one last thing I wanted to do. I was so close to killing 20,000 Minotaurs, I just wanted to round it out, and there it was. So much time was spent here, and now it was over. My journey was complete. But just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. About 2 months later, Jagex rebalanced magic so that now air spells were just as strong as fire spells, even though they required less runes to cast. So now I could use up all those mind, chaos, and death runes I had lying around. I just wanted to put forward one final effort to get something good and use up the rest of my supplies. I was getting pretty good at killing Obor now. I could do 2 kill trips if the RNG was on my side. While getting clues, I saw a really weird sight. I had never seen so many people training in this place before. I actually made it to 45 crafting for good luck, and then got a new clue unique, Monk's Robe Top, and another one, Frog Slippers. I really liked how they looked. I ran out of runes, but I still had a lot of random food left over from doing clues, so I tried out using melee against hill giants. I wasn't sure if it was feasible or if I'd take too much damage. It was actually very feasible, and I was kind of embarrassed how long it took me to try this. I killed 4,000 hill giants now and decided on a stopping point. If I didn't get the Rune Kite Shield after 50 Obor KC, then I would be done. Like I said, I just felt like I was gambling now, and the RNG is my least favorite aspect of RuneScape. I was eager to move on and start editing my videos. Once again, I was disappointed by how many clues I had to drop, which reinforced my decision to finish this. One cool thing is I realized you can talk to Yuri for the panic at the mine step all the way over here, which saves some time. Okay, possibly my last clue opening. And I got 2 uniques in 1 casket, and the sandwich lady top was new. Why couldn't it be the one unique I wanted though? I even got a black mace, which is another 1 in 805. I was lucky in the wrong places. Obor kill 40, 41, 42, 43, 44. I grinded out 6 more keys in 6 hours to bring me to 50 KC, and I got 27 beginner clues in the process. 16 of them were easy ones, 6 were Charlie steps, and 5 were Reldo steps. Just from this sample size, it seemed like there was a bias for clues to be one of these harder steps. Almost like, since there are 5 possible Reldo locations and 8 possible Charlie items, each of those is on the drop table as opposed to just 1 Charlie and 1 Reldo step. I just thought that was interesting. With all these clues I'd been doing, my bone shard stack finally dropped to under 1,000. The end really was nigh. I realized it a second too late. I got XP above ground. Account ruined. I played for so long without messing up. I was 1 day from retirement. I sat there for a while thinking what to do. I had to move on, but I decided that as punishment for my crime, I'd keep the logs in my inventory forever. Look at all these dropped clues. It was like the game wanted me to quit. Out of the 27 clues I showed earlier, I got 22 caskets. I could get a few more from Obor, but this would be the last big opening. Last one. A duplicate ornament kit. Thanks. Yeah, quitting was the right decision. But maybe Obor would give me something good. I got my blue mage outfit for good luck. Kill 45? Nothing. 46? Nothing. 47? Nothing. Somehow I didn't record 48, but it was also nothing. 49? Nothing. Kill 50. I got 64 magic and killed him with a snare for... nothing! I tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, it didn't even matter. Last 4 clues ever. There are no words. Well, I had a lot of fun on this account, all things considered, but all good things must come to an end. Let's see where things ended up. I reached 85 combat, 862 total level, 47 collections logged. Got Bryophyta's essence, but no Obor club. Got half the clue uniques, just not the ones I wanted. Got everything I could from Camdozil, and everything from random events besides the stale baguette. I lost 1 giant key and 1 mossy key, and getting the shaman mask was awesome. I did all the easy and medium combat tasks that I could. I did get all the random event emotes too, so that was nice. 21 days, 12 hours. A nice palindrome. That's 516 hours played, yeesh. Now let's look at the bank. 1.26 mil GP and 17.8 mil total value was pretty awesome. Most of that was due to Bryophyta's essence. I collected so many Camdozil items and really didn't know why I did. I still had so many bone shards left. I did have an idea to use these to train magic by teleporting to Falador, then teleporting to the stronghold, go underground, and repeat, but it just wasn't worth it. I had so many runes left, but nothing to really use them for. Would have been nice to splash less against Obor, but in the end it only killed me once. I got tons of black armor and weapons, which was surprising. I did get some pretty good gear overall. The Myth Kite Shield served me well. Who needs a rune kite anyway? For ranged, it was really nice to finally get ranged upgrades after using the short bow for so long. For mining and smithing, it would have been nice to smith adamant or rune, but it would just take way too long. And it would have been nice if I could use this soft clay from the lockboxes to train crafting. Getting 43 crafting was one of the best moments though. As for food, getting food was always the hardest part of the account, but the clue scroll food actually helped a lot. Before this video ends, I wanted to share some final thoughts. I'm recording this on December 29th, 2024, the 2-year anniversary of the account, so that's pretty cool. I believe you can't fully appreciate what someone else does unless you've tried doing it yourself. That's why in the past I've given myself challenges like learning to juggle, making a guitar cover video, making a vlog, and now making this video. I would watch so many OSRS YouTubers and I thought to myself, how hard is it really? Not just overcoming the grinds, but making genuine entertainment too. I wanted to know what they go through so I could appreciate their work on a whole new level. And what I learned is, it's really hard. Playing the account is actually the easy part. It's called playing after all. But making good videos is real work. When I watch any video now, I think about how long those impressive edits took to make, or how many takes were needed to get that line right, or how expertly the jokes and story were told, and so on. If you have any creators you enjoy watching, be sure to let them know how appreciated they are, seriously. But wanting to understand what others go through was only half the reason I gave myself this challenge. The other half, which I didn't realize until after finishing the account, was that I was more or less addicted to this game. I used this challenge as an excuse to play more and scrape more dopamine out of a well that mostly dried up a long time ago. When I truly understood this, I decided to quit Old School RuneScape permanently. And no, I don't mean I'm taking a break. I've done everything I want to in this game. My main has over 2,000 total level with several 99s, and I've done every quest up through while Gothic sleeps. I've played this Ironman for 500 plus hours and learned how to make art out of it. This is a game and community where you will always be left wanting to do more. More quests, items, bosses, videos to watch. Rather than stick around this game forever like a ghost who can't move on, I'm ending things on my own terms. This video was my grand RuneScape finale. I know it wasn't perfect, but I'm happy with it, and I'm looking forward to spending my time on something else for a change. And speaking of finales, you know, all this time, these restrictions were self-imposed. After a year and a half of playing this account, I realized I'm finally free to do what I always wanted. This is the greatest day of my life! you.